Okay, so I'm not worried about a settlement agreement that I had with Todd Chrisley 2+ years ago because Todd's in prison and Todd's got no money to sue me. So I'm not going to spend my time and waste my time worrying about a settlement agreement because Todd can't pay the $17+ million that he owes to the federal government. You think he's going to sue me, literally, when he can't even, he's in prison. I don't and I won't care about anything that Todd Chrisley does.
Are you sure about that, Katie Joy? You might want to rethink that. You're laughing at the fact that he can't do anything because he's in prison. Well, not anymore.
Terrible thing, but it's a great thing because your parents are going to be free and clean, and I hope we can do it by tomorrow. Is that okay? We'll try getting it done tomorrow. So wonderful. Give them, I don't know them, but give them my regards and wish them a good life.
Katie Joy was sued by Todd Chrisley in November of 2021. It ended in a settlement agreement where both parties agreed to not speak on the other. Clearly, Katie Joy did not stick with that, and she laughed, saying, "Good luck coming after me for breaking it, because you can't afford it and you're in prison." I honestly doubt Katie Joy Paulson really knows what Todd Chrisley's financial status is. Not only that, he does have a lot of support from friends and family who might just have that money in the event that he doesn't. But not only that, Katie Joy Paulson has clearly, on several occasions, broken this settlement agreement. And I'm here to remind everybody her own words and when she said them and what exactly she said. And I'm telling y'all, buckle up, because if you forgot some of this or if you haven't heard it yet, it is a lot. And it is not good for Katie Joy Paulson. So let's get right into it, y'all. So as we know, Katie Joy Paulson of Without a Crystal Ball was sued by Todd Chrisley in November of 2021. And I'm not going to get into the details of this lawsuit. It was a personal injury lawsuit, but no need to get into the details because they did end in a settlement. On September 30th of 2022, Katie Joy made this post to her Instagram account stating that Without a Crystal Ball settles Todd Chrisley lawsuit. My company and I have reached a settlement in our lawsuits with Todd Chrisley, settling all parties' claims. No liability was admitted by either side or adjudicated. As a result of that settlement, I will not be speaking publicly about Mr. Chrisley, his companies, or his family. Mr. Chrisley has agreed to the same terms with regard to me, my company, and my family. She put this underneath the post, which is pretty much the same information, but she just adds, "Thank you." Again, September 30th of 2022. Then shortly after that, Todd Chrisley put out his own post regarding his settlement with Katie Joy Paulson of Without a Crystal Ball. Todd Chrisley stated, "I've been getting questions about my litigation with Katie Joy. All I'll say is that we've reached a settlement that I'm extremely happy with. As part of that, neither of us will be publicly discussing the other or the other's family going forward. Not at all. I'm glad to be able to put this out of my mind for good and won't be discussing the matter further." Now, the Chrisleys have stood to their word. Katie Joy, on the other hand, well, she started out pretty ambiguous with these posts that were kind of neither here nor there. But as time went on, Katie Joy dropped that guard, and she said a lot of things about Todd Chrisley, and none of them are good. And we'll get into those in just a bit. But the first time she spoke about Todd Chrisley out loud was on another creator, John Yates' panel in January of 2024. And even as she was saying all the horrible things about him, she admitted this and had this to say.
I don't ever talk about him because I'm not really supposed to, but
But before we get into all of the horrible things that Katie Joy Paulson had to say about Todd Chrisley, who was serving time at FPC, a minimum security federal prison camp in Pensacola, and he was expected to be released in April of 2032. In the meantime, his daughter Savannah, she had revealed, I believe, earlier this year that she was working on securing a pardon for her parents. And then just this week on May 27th, she received a personal phone call from President Trump letting her know that her hard work, along with others, paid off.
Okay, y'all, I tried to do an Instagram live earlier, and I was driving, trying to get home to get my life together, and we are freaking out over here. Well, I have shed so many tears. The president called me personally as I was walking into Sam's Club and notified me that he was signing pardon paperwork for both of my parents. So both my parents are coming home tonight or tomorrow, and I still don't believe it's real. I'm freaking out. The fact that the president called me, I will forever be grateful for President Trump, his administration, and everyone along the way, all of my lawyers, the people who put in countless hours and effort and love for my family to make sure that my parents got home. I am eternally grateful.
So hearing this news, yes, I was happy for the Chrisleys and all of their supporters and the people that have stood behind them this entire time. However, of course, my first thought was, holy shit, Katie Joy is not going to be happy. We all know how much she despises President Trump. Okay, she's made that very clear. And what you're about to hear and all the things you're about to hear Katie Joy say about Todd Chrisley, it's very clear she despises him as well. And the very first thing I thought was, how is this going to affect Katie Joy? She clearly broke the settlement agreement that she doesn't care about because Katie Joy, in my opinion, feels that she is above the law. But in the past, I've said this in other videos whenever she would bring up Todd Chrisley, that I hope that when the Chrisleys were out of prison, whenever that may be, that they would consider circling back around, listening to what Katie Joy had to say, and holding her accountable. Because, number one, the things that she said after they were in prison and when she was breaking the settlement agreement were way worse than what she was sued for. So let's take a look at where this started and when Katie Joy Paulson started to talk about Todd Chrisley. So as we see, September 30th of 2022 is when she made this post stating that they had come to a settlement and she was not to speak of Todd Chrisley, his companies, or his family. But that didn't last very long because on November 22nd, 2022 is when Todd Chrisley was sentenced to 12 years behind bars for tax fraud. And Katie Joy wasted no time because on that same day, November 22nd of 2022, Katie Joy Paulson took to her Instagram and made several posts, this being one of them, where the number 12 seems to be the common theme. Here she says, still not divorced after 12 years. She says, can't believe it's been 12 years and a few months. I mean, we still aren't divorced. And she tagged her husband. It's very clear to me that Katie Joy was referring to Todd Chrisley, but let's look at some of the comments and what they might have felt. One person says, wasn't your anniversary 3 months ago? Yeah, we're not dumb. I hope the Chrisley's lawyers are watching your post. Another person says, am I correct that you can't report on it and this is your way of doing so? And somebody responds to that saying, that was my guess too. Another commenter says, somehow 12 doesn't sit right with me. How can two very different quote unquote happenings both render 12? Another person states, Todd Chrisley about to find out what 12 years in the slammer does to a man. Couldn't have written it better myself. Someone states they got off easy, and the next person says they did. However, 12 years is still a lot, and I'm glad he got that. So she made this ambiguous post, but her commenters knew exactly what she was talking about. And here's another one she made that day, which to me is a little more obvious. It's just a big number 12, and it says, I love the number 12. With a heart. Now, she turned off comments on this particular post, and Katie doesn't do that on many posts, so makes you wonder why. So on the same day and the next day, Katie Joy Paulson posted some more ambiguous posts that do not say Todd Chrisley's name, so people could argue, well, maybe this is not about Todd Chrisley. It doesn't say his name. But as time goes on, she gets a little more bold. Come January, when Todd Chrisley was going to be sent to Pensacola, which is in Florida, Katie Joy Paulson made this post where it says, welcome to Florida, the sunshine state. She writes, welcome to the newest resident to Florida staying for 12 years. Today is a good day to celebrate the end of a nightmare. P.S. I was right. So the nightmare ends for her because she's a victim in all this? That's just true Katie Joy fashion, but let's look at some of the comments left under this post. One says, doesn't this thread violate the settlement terms of lawsuit that was filed against you? Another says, knew you couldn't stick to your word and not talk about him. What other lies are you telling us? And then this one shows that Katie Joy is acknowledging that it has to do with Todd Chrisley because somebody says, does it make sense that he received the same amount of prison time as Josh Duggar? Make it make sense. And Katie Joy replied, I mean, I see your point, but yes, it does if you know the factors for the sentencing and the amount of money and length of the spree that led to the conviction. Frankly, someone deserved more time, in my opinion. So by stating that underneath that post, it does show that Katie Joy is acknowledging that that post is about somebody going to prison and that somebody is Todd Chrisley. But it gets worse from here. And Katie Joy Paulson just cannot stop talking about Todd Chrisley, her anger, her hatred towards him, and because he's in prison, well, not anymore, but because he was in prison, she thought she had one up. And so she started to make some more posts, such as this post that she made in July of 2023. It states, the person that sued me before Robert is sitting in federal prison, serving 12 years for bank fraud, wire fraud, tax evasion, and more. Everything I reported about him was revealed in his trial. I'm free and paid him no money. He's in prison. Who is the winner? And then she puts, Katie Joy knows best. For those that are not aware, Todd Chrisley was on a reality TV show called Chrisley Knows Best. So, of course, she's mocking him. But yet, she's going to make herself a victim in all of this. Mark my words. And we've already seen it early on. But she's going to make herself a victim even though she is mocking him the same way she does to Robert Shin, who she's in current litigation with. And of course, she has to bring him up in this. And she says, but Katie Joy gets sued all the time. Number of lawsuits lost, 0. I'm wondering for how long that's going to be, Katie Joy. Count your blessings now because I have a feeling that's going to end soon. Just my opinion. And to continue the taunting, this is what her post said. Who is serving 144 months in federal prison? Not Katie Joy. Well, not Todd Chrisley anymore either. Who has AC and a home? Katie Joy. Who doesn't have a $17 million federal judgment? Not Katie Joy. Oh, wait, is that a double negative? Are you saying, okay, well, Freudian slip maybe. Anyways, who didn't lie about her reporting? Katie Joy. Who lied about me and my child on their nationally syndicated podcast? Not Katie Joy. Who is sad to this day that their former friend was intimidated and threatened to change their story? Katie Joy. She's referring to Todd Chrisley's daughter, Lindsay Chrisley there. So see how she's taunting and poking? This is what she does, y'all. And then again, she'll cry victim. But let's look at the comments under this post because Katie was pretty active in these comments. Now, granted, these comments are now deleted. At least what Katie typed is deleted. But the internet is forever. Anyways, these might not be in order, but let's just look at some of the things that were said. Katie Joy says, they caused numerous community banks to fail. They aren't victims. Get off my page. And then somebody who's kind of defending the Chrisleys, or at least, trying to have a reasonable conversation, says, I think felons are still people, and he's clearly in jail facing justice for the pain they caused. I can empathize with both, and jail is a traumatizing thing no matter what. That same person then says, again, not saying he doesn't deserve punishment for his crimes, but I have compassion for anyone in prison. It doesn't mean I think prison isn't necessary in some cases, but I can be empathetic for those who are in there. And then somebody says, hands down, I agree with this. And Katie gets pissed and she says, but not empathetic for people that were abused by him like me. Again, the same person says, this gloating is kind of gross. Like they're already in jail. This is just rubbing salt in the wounds. I have generally liked your content, but this goes beyond just journalistic integrity being upheld, but into reveling in someone else's pain and trauma. Spot on. And she says, his pain, oh my God, stop it. He's a felon. Then someone sticks up for Katie and says, she was sued. The person is in prison. It's not gloating. It's called frivolous lawsuits. Okay. He's not in jail. He's in prison. There's a difference. Well, guess what? He's not anymore. And Katie says, he's in prison for defrauding banks of over $30 million and causing multiple banks to fail. That's a massive crime. He's not a victim. He abused me by filing a frivolous lawsuit. Get the hell off my page. Yeah, this is why I hate Katie Joy Paulson so much. I truly do, y'all. But anyways, Katie says, and he harassed and bullied me over the exact things he was convicted of doing. Always the victim. It's just so gross. And that person says, why have a social media account at all that allows comments then? People are free to disagree or say things about my page if they chose. I have already stated he deserves to be in prison. I have already said I'm glad he is being punished for his crimes. I can also believe that the prison system is traumatic and needs to be reformed. Two things can be true at the same time. See, Katie Joy nobody is allowed to disagree with Katie Joy, period. Period. Not even to try to have a simple agree to disagree conversation. It just does not exist with Katie Joy Paulson. To that statement, somebody responded, stop defending criminals. And Katie Joy says, gross. You are a mess and literally defending an abuser. An abuser. So now Todd Chrisley, according to Katie Joy, is her abuser. It's just so sick and twisted. And if you follow Katie Joy Paulson, you know exactly what I'm saying. But, and then here she says again, nope, he harassed and threatened me to the point that we had to engage the FBI and U.S. attorneys. So save it. No empathy for abusers. And then she also says, in this case, we had to work with the FBI and U.S. attorneys and reported witness tampering. Yeah, Katie Joy, I'd be a little worried if I were you. He's out. He's out. He's no longer in prison. And I don't think money is really an issue for certain family members. I mean, I wonder how much they paid attorneys to get him out of prison, to have a pardon. Okay, let's just think about that. Okay, then then she says again, and keep in mind, all of this right here that I'm reading, that Katie Joy is stating, these comments have been deleted. I'm sick of being told that me reacting to narcissistic abuse is unprofessional or without integrity. Many journalists openly discuss their lawsuits. Okay, Katie. So that was July of 2023, and Katie Joy stayed pretty quiet until January of 2024. There's a creator, John Yates, on YouTube, and he was live, and Katie Joy hopped up on panel, and as she always does, she completely took over. In fact, in this particular live, John Yates left his own live stream, y'all. He just totally bailed because she just took over. He left to where his moderators had to shut it down. But at one point during this, she starts talking about Todd Chrisley. This is the first time she spoke about him, not in post, but actually speaking. And she's clearly intoxicated. We all know that Katie drinks when she goes live. She can deny it all she wants. That's fine. It's my belief that she was intoxicated. Okay, just my opinion. But let's listen to what she had to say. And this was on January 20th of 2024.
I cover cult leaders, guys that go to prison. I used to cover the C word, the family, the C word, but then he sued me and now he's in prison. The Chrisley guy. And
is that still going on, by the way? Can I ask you that?
The lawsuit? No.
It's done?
It's done.
So, okay, it's done.
Yeah, it's over.
I was curious about that. He's in jail.
Yeah, he's in jail. I really don't have a lot to say about him because honestly, that whole process was horrible for me.
Oh, but she had a lot to say. She just kept going on and just kept getting worse and worse. So I'm going to play part of it for you here. This is not all of it, but here's part.
He went to prison because he caused small community banks to fail, literally fail. There was 32 banks.
Okay, wow.
There was 32 banks, I believe, that he defrauded. He has a judgment with the government for $17 million. So when he's like, oh, we got awarded $1 million for this. Well, yeah, but you owe the Fed 17 million and they have nothing to do with each other. And then one of the attorneys will put something out and it'll say his sentence got reduced. No, it didn't. In federal prison, it automatically, sentence reduction goes automatic for release dates at 85% of their sentence, because that's the max that they have to serve. And then if they don't have time added back on, that will be his release date. But his release date will change a number of times until his actual release. But they spin everything. He's really good at spin. Very good at spin. He pays a lot to PR people, and then he doesn't pay his attorneys. I'm just saying.
You hear that, Ice? It was time for a refill. Whatever she was drinking that night, she needed a refill.
We met with the FBI that investigated him because of the threats he was doing to me. And I actually reported witness tampering to the FBI. Savannah is his puppet. She's his puppet.
Well, if she truly is Todd's puppet, let's hope that she decides that he needs to sue Katie Joy Paulson again.
Yeah, he didn't get a new trial. Savannah she did a video or whatever, a podcast, and said that his appeal has oral arguments. That's nothing. Josh Duggar's appeal got oral arguments. Less than 2% of appeals are actually successful. He will 100% not get a new trial. There is no evidence that will counteract what the federal government had. The jury had conclusive evidence to convict him on all counts. It was a rock solid case.
How about just a whole ass pardon? Yeah, okay. Katie Joy, eat your words.
I don't ever talk about him because I'm not really supposed to, but he's a narcissist, a malignant narcissist, megalomaniac, malignant, horrible narcissist. And he's vindictive and he's cruel. And the federal government said that he succeeded in witness tampering. And I was a part of that. And that's what happened.
And then on April 10th of 2024, Katie Joy Paulson made this post stating Todd Chrisley found liable in defamation lawsuit, ordered to pay $755,000. Keep in mind, just a few months before this, Katie Joy Paulson said that she knows that she's not supposed to speak on Todd Chrisley because of a settlement agreement, but she made this post anyways, and she carries on to say, Todd Chrisley is currently serving 12 years in federal prison for financial crimes, but his issues with the law haven't stopped. Prior to his criminal trial, Todd Chrisley used his podcast and social media platforms to take aim at employees that worked for the Georgia Department of Revenue. One of these employees, Amy Doherty Hines, sued Chrisley for defamation. After a jury trial, the jury found Todd Chrisley defamed the GDR worker and made statements with actual malice. A jury ordered that he pay a total of $350,000 in compensatory damages, $170,000 in punitive damages, and $235,000 in legal expenses to the plaintiff. Chrisley also owes the federal government over $17 million as part of his criminal judgment. Why does she make these posts? It's because Katie Joy Paulson, in my opinion, thinks she is above the law. Then in June of 2024, Katie Joy posts this post that states appeals court affirms bank fraud and tax evasion convictions of Todd and Julie Chrisley. Julie's sentence thrown out over quote-unquote narrow issue to calculate proper loss, forfeiture, and restitution. Resentencing for Julie Chrisley ordered. She carries on in a somewhat long post below that basically is stating that there were misleading headlines stating that Julie's case was thrown out and this is false. Of course, this is wrong. Julie's convictions stand and only sentencing must be completed again, and that Todd's case is unchanged and he will remain in prison with the same sentence. Again, what part of do not talk about Todd Chrisley, his family, or his businesses did you not understand, Katie Joy? Todd Chrisley and his family stood up to what he agreed in the settlement. You're the only one talking. And again, I know you're going to play victim, but let's listen to the really, really bad parts, y'all. She was on TikTok talking about Gypsy Rose a lot in the summer of 2024. And in August, here's some things that she had to say about Todd Chrisley during live streams that were talking about Gypsy Rose. But she had to find a way to throw Todd Chrisley in there. And it's not good, y'all. It's not good. So let's take a listen. Again, This is August of 2024.
Sometimes when you're involved in a lawsuit, both sides have grievances against the other, okay? And when both sides have issues with the other, sometimes settling is the only way to make both parties happy, okay? So let's talk about Todd Chrisley. Todd Chrisley sued me in, I think, 2021 or 2022, I can't remember, 21 maybe. And he was suing me ahead of his criminal trial for bank fraud, wire fraud, tax evasion, the like. Todd had gotten embroiled in a scheme where he defrauded banks, and he actually caused numerous small banks, community banks, to fail in the state of Georgia. And as a result of his scheme, he defrauded over 17 million some dollars from community banks based on fraudulent paperwork. And he took loans out based on fraudulent paperwork. He also defrauded the government from taxes.
She then carries on to talk about Todd Chrisley's daughter, Lindsay Chrisley, that Katie Joy did speak with, and she, I think, thought they had this great friendship or whatever. But she goes on to talk about what Todd Chrisley's purpose in suing her for was to get the information that Lindsay had given her, etc. And I'm going to spare you all that, and we're going to skip through.
I felt like throughout the process, he was doing this out of witness intimidation. I felt like he was threatening her, trying to get her to see things his way, make her feel scared. And throughout that process, we actually had to speak with the FBI and the attorneys that were handling his case. And we ended up countersuing him because he decided that he was going to go on his podcast and call me an abuser. He accused me on a podcast of having Munchausen's by proxy. He spoke about my minor child. He accused me of crimes I did not commit. And so we countersued him. And right before Todd went to trial, suddenly he wanted to settle with us. We didn't ask him. He wanted to settle with us. So we came to an agreement. I got what I wanted. He got what he wanted, which wasn't much. And we all moved on. No one got attorney's fees on either side. No money was paid on either side to either person. I was suing him for like $300,000, okay? And no money was exchanged. It was the best because I just wanted him to go away. He went to trial. Everything that I reported came out in his trial. He's now in prison. I do have a settlement agreement, and I can't disclose the details of it. Okay, so Todd is in prison, okay? And the settlement was because both sides wanted it over and he needed to take care of his own shit.
And that was just the beginning of it. There was another live that Katie Joy Paulson had to randomly bring up Todd Chrisley again. And here's what she had to say.
Okay, I love me some Todd. You love Todd. Todd is violent. He is vindictive. I've heard stories of him beating his children. He's in prison. He, according to his business partner, was engulfed in a gay relationship with him. All the while, he's married to Julie. I mean, that was testimony from the trial.
Okay, Gianna, we don't care if you love him.
Todd Chrisley is not a good person at all. He's like one of the most vindictive, vile, horrific people I've ever had to, and he sued me. So I have personal experience with this man. He's in prison. Lindsay is she's been a very abused child. I'll say that. It's not easy to have a dad that's a malignant narcissist. Todd did sue me, and we settled because I countersued him. Todd Chrisley is a malignant, overt narcissist.
Yep. Well, then Katie Joy Paulson goes into the box of a creator on TikTok, and you guessed it, she pretty much took over. But for whatever reason, same thing, had to talk about Todd Chrisley, and here's what she had to say. And again, I believe this was the next day following the live stream that she had done.
They basically, I think people are like, oh, he didn't do anything. He did. He actually caused multiple small community banks to fail. And that's a big deal. Like, his fraud led to banks having to close down and take out government subsidies so they don't have to close.
He owes more than $17 million in restitution.
I wanted to get Savannah on my podcast.
Oh, don't.
Why?
Because she's literally like an enabler of her parents. She thinks that they are innocent.
I do love some Chrisley, though.
If you knew them, you would not like them. Trust me. Todd is vile. I had to deal with him. He sued me. He is a vile human being. He's mean. He's cruel to his children. Absolutely cruel. He doesn't care about anyone but himself. He's a malignant narcissist. Trust Katie, yeah. Because I didn't lose my lawsuit against Todd. And every single podcast he made about me was taken down. And he's in prison.
And that's not the end of it, y'all. I absolutely saved the best for last. We listened to a little bit of it in the very beginning of this video. But Katie Joy Paulson was on a live stream on TikTok talking about Gypsy Rose and the feds. And of course, she had to bring Todd Chrisley into it. In my opinion, this is not good for Katie Joy. And if there is a downfall when it comes to Todd Chrisley, this very well could be it. Here's what she had to say, y'all.
Now, there was a person that did this. His name was Todd Chrisley. So he was under federal investigation, and he made very unique steps, and this was all part of his trial, where he didn't have his name on anything. It was all in his wife's name or his mom's name. And so just putting someone else's name on it doesn't mean it's not yours. And it didn't work out very well for him. He was sentenced to 12 and a half years. So another thing that reminds me very similarly of Todd Chrisley and Gypsy is that Todd brazenly bragged on his show and on interviews to paying taxes that he never paid, and making a ton of money, despite the fact that that money was actually money he stole from banks. Okay, so I'm not worried about a settlement agreement that I had with Todd Chrisley 2+ years ago, because Todd's in prison and Todd's got no money to sue me. And nothing I'm saying is remotely as bad as what has already been said about him. So I'm not going to spend my time and waste my time worrying about a settlement agreement, because Todd can't pay the $17+ million that he owes to the federal government. You think he's going to sue me? Literally?
Yeah, keep laughing, Katie. Keep laughing. Just keep laughing.
When he can't even, he's in prison. I don't and I won't care about anything that Todd Chrisley does. He owes $17 million plus to the feds. I was just talking about the comparison to Todd Chrisley because, thank you, Julie, because Todd Chrisley he bragged about crimes and doing things on a show, and it's very comparable to what Gypsy has done. So it's just a way to sort of draw parallels. Like, he was under investigation federally, and then he was literally bragging about crimes and paying taxes he never paid.
So as you can see, Katie Joy Paulson absolutely, since 2022, has not followed the terms of the settlement agreement. And she started out pretty slow, but then she gained momentum. And she absolutely didn't even follow her own words. That she said that by law, she was not to speak on Todd Chrisley, his family, nor his businesses. But here we are. And you can only imagine that whenever this news came out that President Trump, Katie Joy's favorite person, was going to pardon both Todd and Julie Chrisley, Katie Joy had to go to Instagram and share, how she felt about it. Why? Just because you broke the settlement agreement so horribly before doesn't mean that you should speak on it now, but she did. And we all knew she would, because she is so predictable. When things don't go her way, she has to cry victim. But here's my favorite one that she posted, y'all, because it says so much about who she is. Because she made Todd Chrisley's pardon about herself. Here's what she said. Finally, while I appreciate many of you reaching out about their pardon, asking me, a victim of Todd Chrisley's malicious attacks and smear campaign, to further report on the situation or answer questions is pretty insensitive. That man accused me of child abuse and recommended people report me to authorities. He intimidated and threatened me for 3 years. His release gives me great anxiety and causes me fear for my safety. And clearly there are several issues with this whole post. One being she can't even tell the truth as to why she won't speak on them or why she shouldn't speak on them. Not because she's a victim of Todd Chrisley, we'll get into that in a second, but because she's not allowed to speak on him. She is binded by a settlement agreement through the court. But outside of that, let's not forget she had this to say.
I don't and I won't care about anything that Todd Chrisley does.
But now she does care because she needs the attention put back on herself. She also says that his release gives her great anxiety and causes her fear for her safety. Does this sound like a person that's afraid for their safety regarding Todd Chrisley?
Todd Chrisley is a malignant, overt narcissist. Todd is vile. I had to deal with him. He sued me. He is a vile human being. He's mean. He's cruel to his children. Absolutely cruel. I'm not worried about a settlement agreement that I had with Todd Chrisley 2+ years ago because Todd's in prison and Todd's got no money to sue me.
I personally, among, I'm sure, many, many, many others, do not believe that Katie Joy Paulson is in any physical danger from Todd Chrisley. She's not a victim of Todd Chrisley. And I should probably do another video to showcase where actually that's quite the opposite. I'll have to think on that one. But these are Katie Joy's own words, okay? She's done this to herself. She has said it. She has broken the agreement. And let's not forget, she knows she's not supposed to speak on this.
I don't ever talk about him because I'm not really supposed to,
But of course she chose to because Katie Joy Paulson cannot keep her mouth shut. And she chose to speak on Todd Chrisley even though she knew she wasn't supposed to. She chose to say the things that she said. She chose to keep her mouth open and not stay quiet. She knew when she spoke Todd Chrisley's name that she was breaking the terms of a settlement agreement. And then when Todd Chrisley is released from prison because of President Trump's pardon, Katie Joy cries victim. Literally used the word victim, that she's a victim of Todd Chrisley. And this is what Katie Joy does. She's done it recently with Robert Shin, who she is in current litigation with as we speak. But let's take Katie Joy's own words. Here's a post that she made right about the time that Todd Chrisley was being sentenced. And she actually said, people who create their own drama deserve their own karma. And when she made this post, it was very clear that she was talking about Todd Chrisley and his wife, Julie. But the irony here, y'all, the irony, she's the one now who's creating the drama. She has made Todd Chrisley's release about herself for drama. Katie Joy is all about the drama. And when is Katie Joy going to listen to her own words? When is she going to take her own advice?
I don't ever talk about him because I'm not really supposed to,
Personally, I don't think Katie Joy will ever listen to her own advice. She's not capable because she feels that it's everybody else's fault and not her own. And she's a victim of everyone. That's just my opinion. So I'm going to leave you with one last post that Katie Joy made around the time that Todd Chrisley was headed to Florida to serve out his time in prison. And, you know, that's just funny because does she have a crystal ball? Because this is what she posted. Me reporting to prison. That's the caption of her post here, y'all. Of course, she had to respond to a comment somebody made stating, your whole family needs to sue without a crystal ball. Katie Joy, she is doing so much damage to your family. Please send this woman to jail. Now, I think that was a comment referring to the Browns, but as you can see, she does this to so many people. And then her post actually stated, every time someone tries to sue me or send me to jail, I'ma send them this meme. For those of you wondering why there's a sandwich there, she claims that Robert Shin, again, who she's in current litigation with, he is suing her for defamation, she claims he calls her sandwich. So she is mocking Robert Shin, Todd Chrisley, the Browns, and all of these people within this one post. But then she turns around and cries victim. She is mocking all these people. She is taunting them, but she's the victim, y'all. You truly can't make this stuff up. So will Katie Joy be put in her place? Will Katie Joy be held accountable for all of these things that she has done? Are the Chrisleys going to come back for Katie Joy for not only slandering Todd Chrisley's name, but breaking a settlement agreement? I don't know. We shall see. But if you're not already subscribed to this channel, please take the time to do so. Hit that thumbs up. up, ring that notification bell, and you will receive notice whenever I go live or put out another video regarding Katie Joy Paulson. This is my second channel, and it's pretty much dedicated to Katie Joy Paulson's lawsuits and legal woes. You guys have a wonderful day, and I will catch you on the next one, and I hope to see you in the comments below. Thanks, y'all.